wall. So actually, it like water's getting through the brick and into the handball wall. So we're trying to sort that out.
You have to have it pointed.
Well, it was repointed and it was resurfaced, but the back side of the wall is the kind of ceiling of the filter plant for the pool. So if you can imagine, there's a lot of moisture on the other side of that wall. So we have to figure out what the solution is for that section. And none of that stuff is in the contract. So we're just trying to work through it now, but figure out what our options are. Jim, did I get all that correctly?
Victor, I have 6 o'clock. I'm going to start the webinar.
Okay. Yeah, I think that was a good basic description of the delay.
Just want to give it a few more minutes. I'm sorry, David.
No problem.
For people to jump in. I know we have a primary day today. Hopefully we're not here too long so people could go vote who did not vote. But we'll see how we do today.
Okay.
Davey, I see I have Hannah as an attendee. Is she
Yeah.
tonight? I could make her a panelist.
You can make her a panelist if you want. As I don't know if you guys are aware that Hannah just got a new job promotion recently. Which is good news for you guys. So we can maybe make that announcement.
And we certainly do want to make her a panelist.
Yeah, if she wants. Yeah, that would be great. Hi, Joanna.
Hi. I'm walking home, so I'm gonna turn my camera off until you know I'm in a more stable location.
Sounds good.
Anna.
Hi, everyone. How you guys doing?
Hello, Hannah.
Hi.
Hannah.
I'm here.
Hannah, once we get started, we'll let. I don't know if everybody here knows about your job promotion.
Not yet. I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing. I don't know.
I think it's a very good thing for Community Board 7. So, well, we will, once we get started, we'll make that announcement. But thanks for joining. And I see Jennifer. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, I'm new. If you guys didn't know that, but I'm sure you do.
Well,
great
welcome.
to be here.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you all.
Nice to meet you as well. Okay, so we have Gabino as well.
Hi there.
Hey, how are you?
Hey.
Did I get your name correctly?
You did.
Okay.
Hi, everyone.
Hey.
Oh, hello.
All right. Who else we have? We have John Johnston. John, are you there? You're muted.
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, John.
How are you, Davey?
I'm okay.
Did anyone hear me? Because I feel like my screen is freezing.
Yeah, we can hear you, Victor.
Can hear you now.
All right. And we also
Let
have
me know
Joe.
when you're ready to start, Victor, and I'll call roll.
Yeah, start at 6:05.
Okay.
Give it another 2 minutes if that's okay with everyone.
Sounds good. We've also got Elizabeth from Parks as well. So hi, Elizabeth.
Ready?
Great. Elizabeth, we also have Hannah on. So Hannah is, Community Board 7 doesn't know about Hannah's new promotion. So we will, that's going to be part of the unveiling.
I didn't share too much information yet because she was only technically working for one day.
Okay.
So she's calling in on her own time right now. That's her dedication.
Yeah. I was like, I have to join this one.
Victor, I have 6:05 now.
All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Parks Committee meeting. I know today is primary day. For those who did not vote, hopefully we're not here that long.
Half the community board was on the ballot.
Jeremy, you're muted.
Victor, you're frozen. We haven't caught anything except since your second sentence.
Now, this
Good
is
evening.
Try something else here.
We can hear you now, Victor.
Could you conduct a roll call for me, please?
Sure. Victor, you might want to try turning off your camera.
All right.
Taking up a lot of bandwidth. All right, so I'm going to call roll. I'm going to mute everybody. When I call your name, please unmute yourself. Acknowledge your name and then mute yourself again. If you are a board member but not a committee member, I am not going to say your name, but I will mark your attendance. So let's start with Victor Swinton. You're muted, Victor. You might be frozen, and I know you're here, but I'll get back to you. Joan Body.
Here.
Thank you. Sylvia Augusto.
Here.
Thank you. Johanna Bjorken.
Here.
Thank you. Stacy Boyd. Joseph Canale.
Here.
Thank you. Mary Jo Eister. Nicole Huang. John Fontillis. Gabino Morales.
Present.
Thank you. Daniel Murphy. Katie Walsh. Fred Wolf. Jennifer Yip.
Here.
Thank you. Victor Swinton.
Present.
Thank you. Roll has been called, Victor.
Thank you, Jeremy. I'm gonna leave my camera off because I don't want to get frozen while I'm talking. So I'll try to come in and out if I can. But I want to welcome everybody here today for the Parks Committee meeting. And I would introduce our guests that we have here. I want to thank them also for coming. But before I get to that, for being appointed as the vice chair of the Parks Committee. Joan, I appreciate you being my partner in this, so thank you very much. And I also want to welcome Jennifer Yip to the Parks Committee. Jennifer, I know I didn't get to speak to you, and I will, but I want to thank you very much for joining the committee also, so thank you very much. From the Parks Department, we have Davey Eyes, Jim Morris, and Hannah Baggio. Davey, if there's anybody else here that I did not see, please let us know. Let me know now, and I will definitely introduce them.
We also have Regional Manager Elizabeth Walsack on the line.
Hi, everyone. If I haven't spoken to you already, just to let you know, I'm filling in for Denise Palmer while she's on maternity leave.
Victor must be
The
frozen.
four things are, am I? Oh my God.
No, we can hear you now, Victor.
Oh, you do? We have four things on the agenda today. The update on the reconstruction of Sunset Park Recreation Center, discussion on the future tour of Sunset Park with Parks Department, lifeguards for the pool, knowing that the pool's opening today. I think I'm correct on that. I hope I am. And open flame cooking in Sunset Park. Those are the four things on the agenda. So Davey, I will turn it over to you to give us an update on the reconstruction of the Sunset Park Recreation Center.
Sure. Thank you, Victor. And Victor, I want to add one more thing to the agenda about Hannah Basio. So you guys might know Hannah Basio as the outreach coordinator for District 7. She is no longer the outreach coordinator for District 7, unfortunately, but she has been promoted to the park manager for District 6 and 7. So we are very happy to have Hannah on board, formally into the Parks Committee. So you can give her a round of applause. We're really excited to have Hannah. She definitely deserves it. So
Congratulations.
Anyone who dealt with Libby beforehand, Hannah's replacing Libby. And we couldn't be happier for such a good candidate to be filling those shoes. So, yep. I don't know, Hannah, do you want to say anything, or we can keep going?
I just want to say thank you, Davey, for the announcement. I'm looking forward to working with all of you. And hopefully I will be able to do a great job, and looking to build a relationship with the community as well. Thank you.
Great. Awesome. Okay. Victor, do you want me to also cover the capital projects, or we'll skip that? You're muted. I can't hear you.
I would like those who did not vote to get to the voting booth today. I mean, we did something like a month or so ago. So unless there's something different from that, if you want to add, that's fine. If not, if we have time, we'll go through it. Okay,
great. Well, so I'm going to just start with on the rec center, and if we have time, or if people want to talk about more capital projects, we can do so. So the capital project for the rec center started way back before 2017. So it was actually finished in the fall of 2017. So we've been at this for a while. Unfortunately, the contract made it all the way through the procurement phase, but had to be rebid because we didn't have any suitable bidders. In addition to that time, it was also delayed by a year because of COVID, where all projects were put on hold for about a year. So the timeline for the project as it stands is that we're hoping that construction will start next spring of 2023, and that it will take a year to complete. And that it will be completed by the end of 2024. That is the timeline that we were given. So it's probably an 18-month project. That said, the presentation I have tonight is a version of the presentation we use for landmarks preservation to get approval from the Landmarks Committee. That presentation is from 2017, but I've kind of just taken the key bits of it. I figured we didn't really need to spend a lot of time looking at that many architectural details, but it's enough to give you a sense of the project. All right, so with that, I'm going to share my screen. Can everyone see my screen? Let me know.
Yes, we can.
Yes.
So Great. So that's why you can see on the screen, it's May 9th, 2017. So, and I'll just warn you, I think the budget for this is around $5 million. In one of the slides, it says it's $4 million. So it's slightly off. All right. Okay. So we're on to the next slide. So obviously, I think everybody on this call knows where Sunset Park is, where the rec center is. But as you can see, can you guys see my mouse as well? Okay, so that yellow area is just the actual rec center. So we're not actually touching the pool or any other parts of the park in this. I will talk about a little bit about some provisions we're going to make to keep the pool open so that we don't lose a pool season during construction, which is a good news on this project. Okay, so starting just with the goals of the project though, the goals are really to provide better ventilation and cooling to the building so that when it gets used during the summer months, it's not unbearably hot on the inside. That also is installing what's called a building management system that can help us regulate. It's kind of a modern day thermostat basically for a building that was built in the 1930s. We're going to do some water service upgrades and we're going to kind of upgrade some electrical panels. You'll also see we're going to be restoring some architectural details because one of the main things is going to be revitalizing that entry rotunda. So kind of the caged in entryway where the check-in booth is at the moment. That's going to be retrofitted. We're going to put glass doors on the end of it. So it's going to be climate controlled all year round. And then that gives us a lot more administrative ability to do more things with the building in the future. So what that specifically means is removing some wiring and flood lighting and some retrofits that were put in kind of in an ad hoc way. We're going to make the entryway and the experience ADA compliant. We're going to, like I said, remove those grates, kind of the iron bars off of it and replace it with windows, kind of like a storefront window. We'll also be fixing some of the windows on the top. And then also, as I said, providing heating, cooling, and ventilation to that entryway. The last part, which is a little bonus, is we're going to try to be just bringing the building up to code to get it a certificate of occupancy. That means replacing the existing fire alarm system and adding emergency lighting as required. So it says 4 million. The budget's actually 5 point something, I believe. So like I said, this is an old slide. Just the history of the building. Sunset Park Pool is a WPA projects building that was built in the 1930s. It was originally only designed as a pool, so it wasn't designed as a rec center. That retrofit happened sometime in the 80s when the men's and women's locker rooms were retrofitted to, serve as a multi-purpose space and also as a basketball court. In 2014 was when Parks actually brought those changing areas onto the deck that you see it. And so since we've done that, that actually gives us a lot of flexibility when this building goes under construction, because we'll be able to keep the pool open by letting people bypass the building. Like I said, this slide is old, so the concurrent work, the Sunset Park playground reconstruction has finished. And then the lifeguard reconstruction is kind of just a smaller project. We all know where we are, Sunset Park. This is kind of a standard. These slides are kind of standard slides that we use in all presentations for landmarks in the Public Design Commission. So just showing land use categories around. You have some commercial and industrial and in the red and the purple, and then but most of it is the yellow, which is residential properties. We're out of the floodplain. We're on top of the hill over here. And I kept these photos in one because I really like them. They're great. You can see just how used the pool was back when it opened. But a lot of the renovations take a nod from the history and the original design of the building. So that's why I wanted to include it here. Okay, we're starting to get into it specifically. So I'll show you another slide in a little bit that does this a little bit better, but we're going to be removing those gates that are at the front. We're going to be removing these existing steel picket, the steel picket fence. We're going to provide new aluminum doors with storefront doors, and we'll show you that in a little bit. And we're kind of basically just taking out everything that isn't historic that was just kind of put in there to service the building. And we're doing it in a more thoughtful way as part of this project. So what's happening on the front is also happening on the pool deck side. So we're gonna try to restore this clock actually to try to make it work. We're also going to be removing and replacing these gates and this iron. And we'll be kind of just modernizing everything to today's standards. Again, this diagram might be confusing, but it's showing kind of all this, on the left side, you can see this conduit that and wiring that was just put in to make the building functional. This initial kiosk, we have a slide about it in a little bit, but we'll make it ADA accessible. And all of these red doors that were just painted red are going to be restored to the original design. We're also going to be fixing the lighting fixtures. We're not planning on changing these murals, but in our history, we found that there were past murals that were done in 1988. This slide is a good indication. So this is a plan view. So we're looking from the top down onto the building. You can see this is the 7th Avenue entrance with the steps coming up with the wheelchair ramp on the side. And so what you're seeing, the areas in blue will actually be the areas served by the cooling. So these spaces will be totally air conditioned during the summer months. The bathrooms won't, because they're going to be functioning with the pool, and it's just tricky to get all the air into those areas as well. But the good news is that the most of the usable space will be cooled in the hotter weather, as well as the rotunda becomes a new space that we can use for administrative purposes, or just kind of overflow class stuff, or our folks at recreation are going to help on that side. On the top, you have the original drawing, so that's what we were kind of looking towards a lot of preserving these details. You can see that we're going to be removing those grates again and replacing it with glass windows, and just kind of cleaning it up and restoring it as it used to be. This is a rendering of what that will actually look like. So I probably could have just put this in first and it would have been shorter, but it'll be like a storefront you might see on the street. So we're really excited about this because it opens up a lot more programming for us. I'll go into the next slide. Shows on the inside, it makes it feel less cagey. It won't feel, and it'll feel like actually it was intended to be used year round, even though, that differs slightly from the original intention. Okay, like I said before, we're looking to these historic details. So these were the actually original doors. They have these nice deco finishes on them. We're going to be actually sprucing up these original deco signs as well. And I think we're retrofitting them. So, instead of just saying women's, it's going to be south entrance, and actually reflecting how the building's used. We're also going to be upgrading these doors to match what it used to be as well. So, and then this is a rendering of the welcome desk. This is how it is now. So, it's an old ticket booth. What we'll be doing is we're actually cutting out a slight part of it so that it'll be a lower desk so that people in wheelchairs can access it and kind of get the same services they need. We're going to also be, just kind of making it function as how the building works now, putting computers in. And since, the rotunda is going to be encapsulated by windows, it's going to be able to accommodate, the technology that a welcoming desk, say at a normal gym would see. Again, a similar plan. It'll have a more thoughtful entrance and access plan. And I think that's the last slide. So there's not much else here in terms of the actual slides. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. But I think that the big thing here is that the center will close while this goes under construction. We did look at a number of ways to phase it. And unfortunately, just from a contracting perspective, it's not something that we can do to keep the building open to phase it, because to do the cooling units, you actually have to put scaffolding up to support, because the roof actually has to be reinforced. So you'll have to put scaffolding up to help support the new infrastructure that's going to be going on the roof. So the bad news is that the center will be closing, but the good news is that we will be able to open up the pool. Specifically, how that's going to work is we're probably going to, there'll be a path from the north side on the side of the pool that will lead people directly into the onto the pool deck, and you'll be able to change and use the existing pool deck for all the pool operations. So with that, do we want to take questions on that, Victor?
Yes, please.
I'm sure people, yeah.
I actually want to start. First, I would like to get a copy of your presentation if we can. And I want to thank you for your presentation. But I just want to make sure that I'm clear. The rec center, while the construction is going on, will be completely closed.
That's correct.
Is that correct?
Yep.
And there will be access to the pool area while the construction is going on. Did I hear that correctly also?
Yes, during pool season. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Jeremy, if you don't mind calling the committee members, then board members, then the public, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Sure, folks, please use the raise hand function if you'd like to ask Davey a question about the upcoming rec center project.
And if there's anything that I don't know the answer to, I can get that answer, and we can email, because I know that we'll break for the summer.
So I have Joanna Bjorken first.
Hi there. Will there, I know that the sprinkler area uses the plumbing from the rec center. Is that going to be affected during the reconstruction, or is the sprinklers still okay? That's one of my questions. And the other is 18 months, that's going to encompass, also there are a lot of after school programs. There's a big after school program that takes place in the rec center. And so where is that going to move to? Where are those kids going to go? Because they need that service.
Okay. Thank you, Johanna. The spray shower will probably have to close for just portions of, like when we're working on the water portions. But we can try to schedule that so that it happens during the colder months. So we'll work with our construction and our contractor to try to arrange for that, so that we minimize how much it's going to be closed. I can't guarantee that it's going to be open 100% of the time, but we'll try to keep it open during the warmer months for as much as possible.
Yeah, because especially the pool season only starts now. People have been in the neighborhood have been dying for that sprinkler area. Yeah. I'm sure you've been hearing from them.
I know we've had some,
especially for younger children. So.
Yep, I know that we've had some issues with this summer as well. So, but yeah, we're going to do our best to keep it open for as much as possible. For your other question on the after school program, our recreation team is going to work with the after school programs that currently exist there. We'll probably try to work with them in terms of permitting. So if they can take any of those programs outside, that is a big change. But we don't have a set plan at the moment, but we are working with those after school programs to get something. All right.
I have Sylvia Augusto next. Sylvia?
I don't know if Sylvia froze.
Yeah. Oh.
Ooh.
Yeah, she did freeze. Sylvia, you need to
Hi,
unmute.
I'm here. Yeah, I'm sorry. In regards to the staff that they usually stay upstairs on the second floor. So what happens to them? Because they're the ones that take care of the park.
So I think there's district staff, so the people that actually maintain the park, and then there's
Right.
also recreation staff that run the programming in the centers. I'm sure I think the recreation staff will be redeployed to probably other sites, and then probably, because there just isn't a place for them to run programming. Maybe the occasional programming, as we do at other mobile sites for recreation, is an option, but definitely we won't be able to duplicate services in the same way that the center provides now, just kind of the necessary evil of construction. As for the district staff, I don't know, Elizabeth or Hannah, if you guys want to take this. Do you have any plans? Where do you?
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, there still is there is the comfort station that has maintenance space, so there will always be staff at the park, as staffing levels will ensure us to do. And then besides that, we'll have to try to find a location that will be the headquarters for District 7. But we don't ever anticipate any interruption in service despite this change, as long as, again, our staffing levels stay to a place where we can, maintain that. Yeah.
And you said that it would be in spring of 2023?
Next spring, yeah.
Until when?
I believe it is. Let me just check.
I think you said 2024.
2024.
All of 2023.
I think
Yeah.
I have to double check that fall of 20, whether it's fall or spring of 24, because whether it'll be 2 pool seasons or just 1.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Victor, I see no additional hands up.
Wow.
Oh, now I have Sam Sierra's hand up.
Hi, good evening, and thank you so much for the presentation. I wanted to ask, there was mention of retrofitting the light fixtures. Is there any thought given to solar power, or will they be using any kind of green type of energy when they do the retrofitting?
That's a great question. I don't think we didn't put it in this contract because we just don't have the budget for it. I know that 5 million sounds like a big number, but in terms of public contracting, it's for a building of this size and doing the historic nature, it's not enough to work in that. I think the other thing here at Sunset is the roof and the loading that the roof is able to handle. I don't think, it's an old wooden structure really. So we're already trying to stabilize it just to hold the mechanical equipment. So I'm not sure if we could, our engineers were able to work in any way with solar on this one.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Just a quick question on that, Davey. With the roof being maybe being an issue, that wasn't part of the plan for the reconstruction?
No, it unfortunately it wasn't. I mean, I think the main priority was the HVAC equipment. So that's what the engineering retrofit was looking for.
Okay. Any other hands?
I have Sylvia Augusto.
Hi, I'm sorry. Are they doing pointing in the building on the
On the bricks?
Yeah,
Yeah. I think that there will definitely be some brick restoration
okay.
as well. Yeah.
Because we have I know that there's a leak in the back, in the computer room. There's
Yeah.
water coming in through there, so.
Yeah. So I think, so they're going to be addressing these, these conditions on the roof in that
Okay.
project.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, David. Please just let me get a copy of that, your
Yep.
presentation. I appreciate it.
Can send it over. Yeah.
All right. All right, hearing no more, seeing no more hands. Let's go into topic 2, discussion of future tour of Sunset Park. As you know, we've been asking for a tour, with the Borough Commissioner of Sunset Park. Any update on that for us?
I spoke to the commissioner today, and we're happy to set one up. So, we have our pools opening today. So maybe would sometime in July work for you guys? And
It will work for me, except from the 17th to the 14th, because I will be in the water on a boat, on a ship.
Oh.
But anytime around that is great for me.
Okay. So how about, who's the best one? Jeremy, okay. Maybe Jeremy, what I'll ask is if you can reach out to Marty, he's aware of the ask. So if you want to send an email to Marty and copy me, we can put that tour together. All right.
You got it.
Also, please, not August the 8th.
Not August. Well, hopefully we'll do it in July.
Okay,
Yeah.
sounds good.
Any other questions or discussions on the tour of Sunset? Anyone?
I have Daniel Murphy.
Hey, guys, how are you? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, sorry, I got in a little late, Mr. Ives. Is the supervisor for the district, the Parks District on the Zoom?
We have our brand new park manager. So from our management team, we have 2 people. We have Elizabeth Walsack, who's the regional manager for kind of Prospect Park into Sunset Park. So who's actually just filling in for Denise Palmer. And then we have Hannah Basio, who used to be the outreach coordinator from Partnerships for Park and is, as of last week, our new parks manager. So.
Hi, how are you? One of you, I guess, is the supervisor. I just wanted to bring up one thing because I won't be able to be on the tour in July.
Yep.
If there is a tour in July. But thank you for doing that. There has been an issue that Jeremy has probably brought up to you. There's a structure in the parking lane outside the park at around 43rd Street. It is ostensibly, could you close that door, please? It is ostensibly a COVID testing site, although there's nothing going on there, and it's not a van. It is essentially a trailer that's been there for months, with no activity except it's a good post for graffiti markers and other broken windows issues that seem to be accumulating around it. I know it's a transportation issue, it's a public safety issue, but it is adjacent to a park facility. So I was wondering if Parks had any power over its removal, which is the only thing I can see that can be done with it right now.
Daniel, did you say it's on 43rd?
43rd and 5th.
43rd and the 5th Avenue
It's
side.
on 5th. It's on 5th, David.
Got it. Okay.
Is it on the park side?
It's on the park
Yes.
side in the parking lane, not on the sidewalk, but in the lane.
So it's likely, I mean, if it's permitted, we can find out information about it very quickly and figure out what's been happening there and why it's still there if there's no service happening. But either way, we'll look into it tomorrow and try to figure out if it's still necessary to be there.
Well, I can answer that. It's not necessary for it to be there. It's not necessary to be anywhere. And if it's permitted, I don't know about how it's permitted. But if it is permitted to be sitting there unused, and collecting graffiti for 3 months, I would address the city's permitting process. I mean, and again, I hate dropping this on parks because it's obviously not,
Yeah,
doesn't
we
fit
have
within.
relationships with like the Health and Hospitals Corporation to run these things like adjacent parkland or on parkland. So we'll just look into what we can do to get rid of it tomorrow for sure.
I appreciate that. Just so you know, HHC has run a great COVID testing program on 44th and 6th, and they had no problems. They're in when they're in, they're out when they're out. This is a different issue altogether. This is a derelict issue. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jeremy, anyone else?
No hands are up. I just wanted to say that thing has been there since at least February. It's never been used. And Dan's been nice about it, but DOT has been completely unhelpful. So thank you, Dan, for bringing that up. And if you can help us, we would greatly appreciate it. I have John Johnston next.
And Davey, and I don't know if this is the time, I wanted to talk a little bit about the condition of Greenwood Playground and the lack of, my kids use it constantly, and a lot of my neighbors' kids use it constantly. And it's really not in the best condition. The swings, the playground, the side, whatever the resurfacing material, it's really wearing and in need of some tender loving care. I don't know where we are on that. I mean, I know you guys don't handle Vanderbilt and Harmony. That's the Alliance, and those playgrounds are also in needing of some tender loving care as well. They're especially all three are well used, but they never get the care other playgrounds get in Community Board 7 or in the surrounding neighborhoods.
Thank you, John. Yeah, I think Greenwood by the Prospect Expressway, it's definitely some of the older, I would say older style play equipment, and it's basically just an asphalt lot with a safety surface pad and whatever play equipment plunked in there. Our in-house forces are only able to kind of make sure that they're in safe working order. But it's old and it needs a capital project. So I think that's the only way a playground like this really gets addressed. So, I mean, it would just take capital money. We can, and working with elected officials on getting it fixed is the best way to go about it. I don't know if, John, if there's anything specifically that you found was like unsafe or that stood out to you. You're muted. I don't know if you're trying to speak, but you're muted. So feel free to unmute yourself if there's anything specifically.
Greenwood's not terrible compared to Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's really unsafe. I mean, it's really, I know that's in the Alliance's territory, but that ditch with the water that was supposed to go around it, there's like a little cement, there's supposed to be a stream.
Okay.
They painted yellow lines basically so the kids don't fall in it. It's not the and the equipment, that little circle that's been welded shut like a spinning thing. It's not, and they have other things the kids supposedly spin around it. There's one other. I've seen kids get their ankle caught in there, and one kid broke their arm on that circle thing that's spinning around. I know that's the Alliance's Bollywood, but I saw them mentioned it. I mean, these playgrounds are really, really well used and abused.
Yeah. And, I don't know, Elizabeth, do you want to? Is there anyone?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I can appreciate some concerns about some very dynamic and challenging play equipment that was really thoughtfully, intentionally put in that park. If you wanted to maybe send me your concerns, I can look at them more closely, but if it could be any consolation or just comfort to anybody on the call, that park is inspected frequently by both Parks Independent Office of Management and Planning. We have this inspection program called the Parks Inspection Program. It's really rigorous. And also park supervisors inspect it monthly. So if there are what are deemed to be hazards per our inspection program, they are, especially with play equipment, quickly resolved. But again, like if you wanted to email me any of your specific concerns, I'd be happy to look into it.
It's mainly in Vanderbilt that I'm concerned about the safety issues. Greenwich is just very old.
Right, Greenwood's dated, but
yeah.
it's, yeah. But no,
Vanderbilt
I
to
understand what you were speaking about Vanderbilt, because it does. It has things that you don't find anywhere else in the city, and it's it was really designed to be to just be like very elevated, challenging play in a lot of ways. But I'd be happy to look into it.
Compared to the other playgrounds on the other side of Brooklyn, it hasn't got the care that other playgrounds are getting. It's like, it's really disappointed when it's very well used, not only by community, but all throughout Brooklyn. So, but thank you.
John, why don't you and I talk and we'll get some photos of the conditions and we'll share those with Elizabeth.
Okay, thank
you. Yeah, great. I just want to point out, I get the outdated equipment, but when we're talking safety, that has to be somewhat utmost importance to us all, for the children, for the kids. All right, Jeremy, anyone else?
No.
All right, so let's move, if we can, let's move on to lifeguards. I know the pool's open today, and I hope I'm right on that. I know the governor, I know we have a shortage. I know the governor has offered to give a pay raise to individuals who are lifeguards. One thing that came up at our general meeting was trying to inquire in our district on getting some of our people who are swimmers into possibly becoming lifeguards. Have there been advertisement going out in our district asking for lifeguards, or is that the process of getting lifeguards?
We advertise every year for lifeguards. I mean, I don't know, Hannah or Elizabeth, do you guys have any more details on it?
I don't have any specifics because it's really not our area, but it is an annual recruitment effort that happens, and it's advertised throughout, parks and on the website and things like that from probably, January. I can put a link in the chat right now. If there's anybody you did want to, make sure knew, and I'm not sure where, I mean, there's such a shortage right now. I'm not sure if I think they're just continuing to try to test applicants and process people as soon as possible to get them out at the pools and the beaches. So I'm not sure where they are in that recruitment effort, and if it's still ongoing. I hope it is, so we can really have the full complement of lifeguards at all those facilities. But that's something like I said, I can send you this link, and then maybe we can follow up tomorrow with somebody who has a little more information about it.
I think, thank you, Elizabeth. And I think, one of the constraints is that access to pools with COVID. And Elizabeth, I have the link if I can pop it in. Yeah. So it's just on the New York City Parks website. So I just put it in the chat if anyone wants to click that or share. Part of the ability is getting access to pools, which has been tricky during COVID. And I think is one of the reasons for the lifeguard shortage. There are a number of issues along with that, but that's one of the primary ones.
Maybe I just have one. Sorry, I just have one more question before we open it up. What is the process? How long is I'm sure there's some type of training, right? How long is that training?
I don't know exactly, but I can try to get you those details if you want, or if you have any other questions about it.
Yeah, no, I just want to know the whole process of how they go about becoming lifeguards, if you can get that information.
Yeah,
that's actually at the link also. Sorry to interject, but if you there's a button that says check out the qualifying test, and it says you need certain you have to be able to swim a certain speed in 35 seconds or less. You have to be a certain age, certain vision requirements and things like that. So, but it's really, yeah, sorry.
No, that's exactly. So there are certain components of there's a swimming test and a written test. There's also, you have to pass a CPR course. And then there's a 40-hour training that takes place, which is, I think, paid if you pass.
Okay. Jeremy, if there's any questions?
I have Sylvia Augusto. Sylvia?
Hi. I was thinking about this. It's too late for this year, but maybe for us going into like John Jay, Fort Hamilton, where they have pools. Does Fort Hamilton has a pool, right?
It
And,
does.
like,
The high
get
school.
high schools, and try to start talking to young people about becoming lifeguards. I think that it would be an opportunity for them to see themselves doing something different. I don't know. I just came to me and I just felt like if we could have parks do like a campaign in public schools where there is pools, it would encourage young people. They never see themselves doing something like this. And maybe it's just an opportunity. And the Harbor School, the New York Harbor School at Governor's Island. So just throwing it out there.
Yeah. Go ahead, Hannah. Yeah.
No, I just wanted to say when I was with partnerships, we were help promoting lifeguards too. I did research. I reached out to like different swim teachers, like in the schools. I did all that, just I don't know what, like, kids are not really, I guess, like, we promote it and all, but it's just like if the kids are willing to take the job, but it's a great job though. I'm gonna tell you, it's a great job, great benefits, So if you guys have anyone in the community is looking for a job, this would be a great job for them for the summer. Especially you, Sylvia, send it to the church.
Great. Anyone else? Jeremy, did I lose everybody?
I have Joanna Bjorken next.
Yeah, I was gonna say, with regard to the shortage, my child is at John Jay in the middle school at Park Slopes Collegiate there, and there was no lifeguard this year at all. So although they're there, they didn't have swimming all year long because they didn't have a lifeguard at their pool. So the lifeguard shortage like extends to the schools as well. They couldn't find anybody to hire to be a lifeguard so that the kids could have swimming and PE, which is an absolute scandal. So I mean, it's it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. That's not my question. My question is, what is going to be the impact of the lifeguard shortage in Sunset Park School pool specifically? And will there, we heard about no learn to swim, we heard about no lap swimming, but is there going to be reduced hours or reduced season? What can we anticipate?
Yeah, great question. And I, unfortunately, I don't have a crystal ball to tell you exactly how it's going to play out, but I think all those, so no camps, no learn to swim program, no lap swimming or early morning or late night swimming is going to take place. And I think we're basically the size, the amount of pool that we can open on a given day is going to be dependent on how many lifeguards basically show up to work in the morning. So, and there might be days where no lifeguards show up and we might have to close the pool for that day, which is, I think, crazy to think about, but I think it's just a reality that we might have to face. So we're trying to talk about, ways to figure out, if we don't have enough lifeguards show up at one place, do we bring them to another spot to open up a bigger area of the pool? But we're still working out those details as pools are just opening now. We're seeing the impacts, but the idea is that hopefully all pools will stay open for the set amount of time if everybody shows up at the desired at their intended time. So I know, not a great answer, Joanna.
Yeah, how understaffed is Sunset Park specifically? Like how many lifeguard positions would you want to have right now, and how many do you have filled?
I don't know this. Elizabeth, do you have more detail on that?
The only thing I could probably add to it right now is I do know there's a major major shortage, and it sounds like it's more about it's not even like who shows up. It's the scheduling is going to be really intentional to try to have facilities open and well staffed, even if that's at like a reduced amount of time, like only 5 days per week or 6 days per week or something like that. But the lifeguards are really the lifeguard. It has they're very distinct in them. A distinct section of the Parks Department, and they do their own scheduling and things like that. And but it would be something that we should, I can talk to Hannah and my boss tomorrow, the chief of operations, to see if there's any other information we can share about it. But they are struggling, and they're not happy about it either. So
and I think we're just kind of figuring all this stuff out as we kind of just see what the extent of the damage is.
And how will public be able to find out whether or not a pool is open in real time, whether it's open and what the hours are, and or their capacity issues? Because I can imagine nothing. There's that one thing, because people are going to schlep all the way to the pool and then find out that it's closed. That's going to fill people with a lot of rage. And number two, with that issue, so we need to have like something like on real time where kind of like what they did with the vaccine hubs, so can tell right away, like, and maybe even what the line is, what the capacity is. I really hope that Parks is going to be able to enable that. And number two, how can we, because we know what happens with squeaky wheels, like how do we make sure that the pools in Manhattan or in places where there are really noisy, privileged, loud voices don't get all the lifeguards and we're made to suffer? That's number two. And number three, if the pool is not going to be operating at full everything, then that creates even more of a priority to get the situation with the spray showers and the sprinklers sorted out, because this community is needs a place to cool off. And if we don't have, it is going to be a hot summer, it's going to be a long summer, and that spray shower needs to be on.
Yeah, I can actually speak to that, Joanna, about the spray shower. Yeah, we've had challenges outside of the district or even the borough's capacity to correct while they prepped the pool for the season. And like I said, prepping the pool impacted the operation of the spray shower. I'm hoping tomorrow morning, I'm going to call the pool manager. That's the person who oversees the pool program for the whole borough, and also the supervisor of mechanics, to see where we are as far as that. The citywide services who actually preps the pools for the season, where they are with their work, and if it's going to continue to impact, and what that will be, and any other like workarounds outside of that. But it's been really unfortunate, especially given we had so many really hot days really early in the season. So, but it is very top of the list for us to keep on track of and keep pressure on to make sure that the splash pad is open.
And information about the pool status?
Which pool? Sunset?
Just in terms of like real, like, is it open? Is it closed?
Sunset was open today. Yes.
Yes, but how can community? I mean, if there's a possibility of reduced hours, how will the public know?
Yeah, I was just looking on our website as well.
Yeah.
I know that they were advertising a link so that you could check to see. And I was at Douglas and DeGraw Pool all morning, giving information to different offices so that they could keep this link updated throughout the morning, because we actually were unfortunately not able to open it all because we had only one lifeguard that was sent to the pool for the day. So I'll try to find that now and put it in the chat.
I have a quick question about lifeguards. The numbers of lifeguards, let me put it this way. The lifeguards assigned to Sunset, are they permanent or do they move around the city? How does that work?
I can't speak to any real policy because we're not like, we are,
Yeah.
separate, you know, we're maintenance and operations, but I can tell you from my experience was that, yes, if there's, the goal would be to have like one staff for each pool throughout the summer and not to have to pull around. But I think that there's some conversation about being like a little more flexible to make sure, you know, places can stay as staffed up as possible, and you know, one community is not hurt or adversely affected over another, that there's equity in that service this summer.
Can you just do me a favor? If you can, just get that answer for me, as well as how many lifeguards will be assigned to Sunset this summer, if that's possible to get.
I think, Victor, I don't think we know how many are going to be assigned to Sunset. That's the trouble. And
We do not.
as Elizabeth said, you know, we try to have one group of people that, you know, maintain each pool and are assigned to that pool for the summer. People do get shifted in years past for whatever reason. But I think this year, especially given that there are going to be lower days where, you know, Douglas and DeGraw just around the corner only had 1 or 2 people show up, so they can't open. So those 1 or 2 people will go and do overflow duty at, you know, a different pool in the area. So it's going to be way more flexible than it's ever been because of the shortage.
And there's another thing that can impact is, well, you know, the pool can be open, but because of the limits of how many lifeguards were assigned there that day, you know, the capacity might be limited. So Sunset, I'm sure, will be open every day of this season, but some days you might go there and it might only be 25%, 50%, 75%. So, but I think everybody's working really hard to make sure that those days are few and far between.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions out there? Let me see. I see no other hands.
Can I just like one more comment on this, which is I really see like an opportunity to get some, you know, we have schools that don't have lifeguards during the year who had vacancies all year long and they were funded. They had a space for a lifeguard and didn't have one. You have a summer lifeguard shortage. You could have a potential feeding service from like if the parks manage to help the schools get the lifeguards they need to be going on during the school, then there could be, you know, a teen training program all winter long to get lifeguards in shape in some of the schools that have lifeguards. And like, please, like work together to make this happen. Because there's now like, you know, this is the 3rd year now that kids don't have swim lessons. And this is a whole, like, we're getting into a generation of kids who are going to not know how to swim because the city is not offering this at all. And that's terrible.
We hear you. I think that's a great idea. We have worked with other city agencies in the past, but, you know, I don't think any formalized program has been funded, but, you know, and I think also in the last couple of years, having outsiders visit a, you know, closed school environment for COVID reasons has been an issue. But, you know, I think certainly maybe next year is an opportunity. But thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for the questions. Let's go to Open Flames Cooking in Sunset Park. This issue has come up in the last 2 general meetings. And we're looking for Park for some help. What could we do about this issue here?
Yeah, so I think Hannah and Elizabeth, feel free if you, I'll take a first crack at it and feel free to jump in if you want. You know, so, you know, we talk with our PEP officers on this. My understanding is there's a farmer's market that takes place in Sunset Park, but in addition to that, there's also a kind of more ad hoc market of sorts, you know, where there is open vending that takes place, vending with open flame cooking. I won't use jargony words. It's just open cooking over an open flame, selling it, you know, in the park without licenses. You know, our PEP officers have been in the park. You know, they've in June alone, they had 16 visits, you know, for 10 hours total. In May, they visited 31 times for about 17 hours total. So we are in the park. We have issued, since January, 16 summonses. And usually when it gets to the point of issuing a summons, it's a pretty extreme situation. As far as the open flame goes and those vendors, open flame cooking, not in a designated barbecuing area, is not allowed in New York City parks, as is vending. You're not allowed to sell goods for profit in a New York City park, unless it's part of a concession or there's another agreement in place. I think what we have going on here is not part of any formal agreement. When our PEP or Parks Enforcement Patrol officers have tried to enforce it, they've kind of gotten surrounded, they've gotten pushed back, and to the point where, it was unsafe for them to take further action. That said, our borough commissioner has been in talks with NYPD to try to convene a meeting between PEP and NYPD to try to come up with a strategy to address this. But that's kind of where we are at the moment. Hannah or Elizabeth, is there anything else that you'd like to add?
Well, I'd love Hannah to speak from her enforcement experience.
So usually when I was a park ranger enforcing parks rules and regs, sometimes depending if it's the first time events, I would educate them, tell them that they're not allowed to be in here. It's not open flames, and they would leave. But sometimes people are compliant, sometimes they're not. It depends on the situation. First thing we want to do is educate them about the rules and regulations. Then if they keep coming back over and over again, then that's when, when I was a ranger, I would issue a summons or remove, confiscate their stuff. And then I know the community, it's I think a norm in the community for them to do that. I think right now, maybe the best approach is just educating them. Maybe I can do that, when I start, just come in and just start talking to them and asking them, like, it's not allowed, and then ask them to maybe move somewhere else outside of the park or across the street from the park,
Victor, I see a couple hands are raised.
Sure.
I don't know if you have any
Absolutely.
questions or.
Jeremy, no, I'll let Jeremy, you could call the.
No problem. I have Sam Sierra.
Hi, I'll be brief. I just wanted to add to the conversation with regard to those vendors there on a Sunday morning. I was there about 3 Sundays ago, and I was handing out some literature. And I stood on the side by the fence of 6th Avenue, and a gentleman comes up to me. I'll call him a gentleman because he was polite, and told me that I could not have my table there because someone else may need it. And that if someone comes and asks me to move from their spot, that I have to move. So I'll not go on about that particular situation, but it's a big problem. I mean, you walk into the park and you have at least 20 tents all along the path of the entrance to the park. And yes, they are cooking open flame. I'm very concerned. It's a big problem. I don't understand how it is being allowed to continue. And for them to be so brazen about the fact that they can do this, this is mine. I've been using that park since 1968. And I should not have anyone coming up to me and telling me that, like anyone else, I can't stand here or there in my park as well. So it's a big problem, and we need to do something to address it. I yield my time, and thanks. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. I think, we've heard this. I think this market was one that popped up during COVID, at a time when there were more lax enforcement. So kind of we didn't get it while it was small, and it's kind of ballooned like a lot of things that we've seen in Prospect Park and McCarran Park and other kind of the major regional parks across the borough and across the city, I'll say also. So, I think trying to get it back under control and in a manageable spot where, you shouldn't have to feel alienated coming to the park that you've been coming to for decades. So I'm sorry about that interaction. And I think, our PEP officers have tried to address it, but I think it becomes, they do get that kind of that aggression that gentleman, probably expressed to you. So that's why we're going to be working with NYPD to try to come up with a better strategy. I know that the council member has also flagged it. I don't know her chief of staff, but in his previous role, was also dealing with this issue too. So they're aware of it and they've been putting pressure on the Parks Department too to hear about it. We'll try to, so yeah, I think once we can have that meeting with the police and have a little bit more of an idea, hopefully we can roll that out and have some impact.
And a lot of these, like trying to get these like cleanups happening, it really takes it's very resource. It's a big resource strain. Like we have to go back many times. We have to hope that there's not some sort of community support that might be pushing back towards us. I've had to face this with a couple vendors in Prospect Park that again, like during the pandemic became very entrenched. It's not easy, but we will do our best to, like Davey said, just make sure that people are using the park respectfully and appropriately.
I have Sylvia Augusto next. Sylvia Augusto.
Hi. Yeah, this is a tricky situation. I don't know too much about it, only that it's a group of people that have been going there, and I didn't know that they were cooking there. I know that they were bringing food, but I didn't know about the cooking there. But I think it's more of CB7 Parks and the police department being in the situation of conversation, because it's a little bit more tricky. I don't know too much about it. I just know that they're just there and they come every Sunday now. And the farmers market, Grow New York, NYC, is outside of the park. It's not inside the park though. They're on 44th and 7th, between 44th and 43rd on 7th Avenue, and they keep everything quite respectful. There's more than enough room for people to walk by. They used to be on 44th and 6th, but they moved to 44th and 7th, and I'm assuming they have a permit to be there. So they're not a problem, the farmers market. But this other situation is tricky. That's it.
Yep.
Yeah, Joanna, I agree with you. I'm going to talk to Cynthia Felice. Maybe we'll have a joint meeting on this with Parks and the NYPD and see what kind of solutions we could come up with dealing with this situation.
Is it my turn?
Yes.
Okay, great. I'm very confused at the, I feel like I would like you not to talk around this issue, and I feel like there's been some talking around this issue, and that frustrates me, because when you talked about, there's a lot of open flame cooking in the park. Let's be specific. There's vendors over by the volleyball court who are cooking stuff, and there's like the Sunday afternoon plaza or marqueta. I'm not sure exactly what it is. I don't see that the plaza is a problem. I think it's lovely. I think it's wonderful. I would really love to find a way to make it work and not consider it a problem. I think a lot of people really enjoy it. A lot of people have come to really like make that a really nice way to end the weekend. I certainly do. It's really nice. It was really nice last summer to like go to the pool on a Sunday, come and, you know, like come out and like just grab some dinner and sit on a blanket. The open, like if the problem is open flame cooking, that's one thing. If the problem is the fact that there's sort of a little informal market that doesn't have a permit, or maybe it does have a permit, I have no idea. I've always wondered. Like, let's figure that out. But I think just automatically define it. It's like what we're talking about is not open flame cooking, but it's the market that has vendors who use open flame. Let's not disguise the language around that. If the problem is actually open flame cooking, I mean, I was actually wondering whether or not we were going to talk about maybe having a little barbecue area, because so many families use it as a gathering place. And I'm sure, you know, a lot of parks have a designated little barbecue zone, and it's so cute and fun to have. So like, are we talking about instating that? I think that could be really fun and interesting. There are parts of the park where I could see that being very, very relevant. But let's not, I don't know if the agenda item open flame cooking is actually really about the Sunday night marqueta or plaza or whatever, however it's referring to itself. Like, let's talk about it like that and not like open flame cooking.
I don't, if I can, I don't think anyone complained about folks having food. The complaints were with the open flames. I don't think they complained about if someone comes with food and they're selling it. I haven't heard that complaint yet, if there is a complaint, but the complaint was the open flame, and that was the complaint.
So I could.
Where was the open flame? Because it happens all over like, is it?
Well, the open flame, and you know, I don't work for parks, is illegal, whether it's anywhere in the park. So it has become a concern to some people who have expressed it at the general board meeting. And I'm with you. I want to come up with some resolution. I'm sure parks do also. And that's why we need to have these discussions.
Yeah. And I'd love to keep the police out of it. I don't see. Well, I don't see that working towards something positive. I just don't.
No. I agree. I understand. But when they start threatening the PEP officers, we got to get them some type of backing.
Yeah, I mean,
and that's where the police comes in. I mean, they tried. They're getting threatened, and you know, we don't want that either.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I think open flame or not, you know, the vending in an organized fashion like this, you know, is something that needs a permit and needs some sort of approval, you know, and the reason for that approval is that, you know, you need to make sure that everyone has a food handler's license, you know, in the event that anyone gets sick, that it's following certain code of, you know, Department of Sanitation codes. And that's just as a measure of safety. You know, I think you layer in the open flame aspect of it as well. You know, that's another safety concern. I completely hear you, Johanna. I think, you know, about, a family barbecue on a Tuesday night versus, you know, a big marqueta on Sunday that has an organizer that's getting vendors to come and show their goods and, you know, in a formalized kind of running a business sense. You know, if it is the latter, you know, I think it's something that we can have a discussion about, maybe trying to figure out a way to formalize it in terms of, you know, putting out an RFP or, you know, going through our formal concessions process, which is what we would do for something like the Green Market that does have an RFP, that did go through a competitive RFP process to get the right to do that. You know, if that were, you know, a desired thing. But, you know, at the moment, we're just trying to make sure that people are following the rules. We're trying to make sure that, you know, our PEP officers, you know, are safe and can do their job in a safe way. And so that's what we're up against. And we're hearing complaints, not only from Community Board 7, but from elsewhere in the community. So we're trying to work on a solution that, is not enforcement forward. We would love people just to kind of comply with the rules to begin with, and then we can maybe regroup and try to figure out a way where markets happen. A lot of times what we do is, programming that can happen by a park, it can happen out on the street, and that gives us a lot more flexibility with what can and can't take place. We do this all the time with bouncy houses and carnival days in other parks, in other parts of the city. So, moving things outside of the park gives us a lot more flexibility. I think the thing with this market is that from what I've heard in my research, that the organizer just isn't willing to work with any entity. So, if we can't come to the table at the beginning, then it's tough to actually have a dialogue.
I have Cynthia Gonzalez next.
Yes, my question is, what exactly is the signage in the park that, informs people that open flames are not allowed? In what languages are they posted? Where exactly are they posted in Sunset Park? Excuse me. And my second question is, how difficult is it to get the NYPD, specifically the 72nd precinct, to respond to the needs of the Parks Department staff when these situations are, become problematic, and, people just don't want to vacate or stop what they're doing or whatever?
Thank you, Cynthia. Victor, you want me to jump in?
Sure.
Okay. So as far as the signs, Elizabeth, Hannah, I believe they say no barbecuing, right?
Where is this posted though?
There's signs at every entrance, consolidated signs. And in a park like Sunset, there's certainly to be in English and Spanish at least, and potentially another language that I can find out tomorrow, like Mandarin. Yeah.
Yeah. So Cynthia, it's those big green consolidated signs. Sometimes the text might be a little bit small, but it is posted on the sign that no barbecuing is allowed in English, Spanish, and I believe Mandarin is a third language as well.
Okay, so being as it may, that means that the people doing this are aware that they are violating the law, and what does the precinct do about this?
So, the first responder in this situation would be the PEP officers. I can't speak, so that they're.
What is a PEP officer?
Sorry for using that. Parks Enforcement Patrol, or PEP. It's an acronym, PEP. So our parks, so it's actually park staff, the folks in the green uniforms that are driving parks cars. You might see them in the park.
Yes.
They're going to be the first people that are going to be called in to respond to a condition like this. They're trained, they don't carry guns, that they're not armed. Their direction is to try to counsel people, who might be doing something that is breaking the rules, to kind of get them to steer them back into the right course, to get them to comply. They're not there to just throw handcuffs on someone and throw them in the back of a van and haul them off somewhere. That's definitely not what Parks Enforcement Patrol is trained to do. I see Hannah nodding her head as a former PEP officer. So Parks Enforcement is trying to get people to do the right thing. If people, so you'll get a warning, then we'll come back and try to rectify that condition. In the event that people are not complying, then we can issue what's called an oath summons. Hannah, did I get that correct? Or is there another level before that? So it's an oath summons with a couple oath, and then we'll repeat that if it's the same person over and over with a few oath summons that can eventually lead to an arrest. So Hannah, did I get that roughly correct?
Mhm.
Okay. You know, if there are other issues where, you know, where NYPD is needed, that can happen. We had incidents in Sunset Park where PEP officers have been chased back into their car and people have jumped on their car. So that would be an incident where NYPD would get involved. That's where it is. I can't really speak on behalf of the 72nd precinct. You know, we would love it if they didn't have to get involved. But you know, this is, you know, we're also trying to protect our park staff members that are just trying to do their job. Cindy, did that help? Do you have any other questions?
No, thank you so much,
Okay.
Mr. Ives.
Yeah. I mean, I just want to say, like, our approach as Parkies is to go, you know, just to counsel people into doing the right thing first and foremost. If people just kind of can follow the signs, that's what they're there for. That's what we want people to do. We don't want to get NYPD involved if we don't have to. So that's kind of our ethos when it comes to enforcement.
Thank you, Davey. I appreciate that.
Yep.
Is there any more hands up?
Yep. Sylvia Augusto.
Okay.
One of the other problems that we're having is the bikes. It's the motorized bikes, the scooters, and it's just getting really bad in there. And I don't know how they're going to deal with that. I know they're dealing with it all over the city, but now that we have more kids in the park, it's going to get more dangerous. And Sunset Park is utilized. It's thousands of people that use it every day. There's no ifs, buts, or maybes. And having these young people riding the bikes around the park is really dangerous. And we also have another issue with the lights again. I'm gonna make a call to DOT, to 311, but there's no lights in front of the rec center in the exit by 41st and 7th Avenue. That is really dark there, and by the sprinkler system, there's nothing by the sprinkler system. There's lampposts there, but none of the lights go on. They don't even know how to put them on. So
Sylvia, if you share those service request numbers with us, we would help, you know, move that along with DOT.
Okay.
That would be really helpful. I appreciate it.
Is there anything that they're working on in regards to the motorized bikes? I know it's an issue everywhere.
Yeah, I think it's, I don't know, Elizabeth, I don't know if you have any experience in Prospect Park and how that's played out. I know that's a big issue there.
Yeah, we added a bunch of signs, just, you know, the idea of those consolidated signs was really to have every rule clearly sort of stated at the entrances, and so that we could have less, you know, kind of like obnoxious signage while you're that impacts your usage of the park or your, you know, your experience using the park. But in Prospect, especially, like, because we have actual drives that some people use without knowing that they're doing the wrong thing on those bikes, we did put additional signage in there. And I think that at this point, there's just kind of like some back and forth on like what actually constitutes a vehicle that's not appropriate or is appropriate. I mean, in the case of Sunset, though, since those are all pedestrian paths, and there's no bike path and there's no roadway, it should be, you know, completely not allowed in the park at all. But it's a really challenging enforcement issue that has kind of, you know, all manner of enforcement is trying to work together to figure out what a solution is. And it's, you know, it's another like outcome of the pandemic. Just so many of these different types of vehicles just like came out of nowhere. So, but it's more of a concerted effort, I would say, like interagency concerted effort. And we can definitely keep you posted as to whatever tactics we might use in Sunset.
And I think that's another thing we can bring up with the 72nd precinct too as well. You know, I think the park's rule officially is no motorized vehicles. So it kind of just depends where you interpret that. You know, if a kid is on the little bike that has a tiny electric motor versus, someone's driving an electric car through a park or a truck, everything on that spectrum kind of, both ends of the spectrum are technically banned by the rule, but we're probably not going to go after a kid with, a tiny little battery powered bicycle, but we will go after, a big, 18-wheeler driving through Prospect Park. So, where the line of where we stop enforcing is to be determined. And I know that I think maybe the Arsenal, our central headquarters are trying to work on a policy that works. Victor and Jeremy, I see that Gabino maybe has some ideas in the chat. I don't know, Gabino, if you want to take yourself on mute and chime in.
Yes. How are you guys? Thank you, Davey. I didn't initially have my hand raised, but I do have some ideas that were spoken in different committees regarding a task force, I believe, that has to do with Fifth Avenue and Sunset Park Bid. This first came up because there were some issues regarding trash and vendors, but it seems like in order for us to be more direct with these situations, we might have to create a task force that unites maybe sanitation, parks, and public safety in order to see these issues as one, because we need to connect all these committees in order to solve some of these issues, I believe. And in order for that to happen, I believe we should go out and walk in the area, see what the complaints are, see what people are saying, and observe the situations ourselves. And I believe that's the only way we'll be able to deal with these issues directly and have evidence, some type of evidence for us to bring back to our committees and talk about them even more to the appropriate agencies that we need to speak with.
Great.
All right.
Thank you. I don't know, Victor, do you want to respond, or I'm happy to weigh in as well?
Well, I mean, you already said there have been some of this issue in that area already, right? So there have been some enforcement. I'm sure there's been some observation by Parks Department. I think it is a good idea that maybe we'll have this meeting and we'll get sanitation, public safety, the Parks Department committees, maybe on another Zoom, and we'll put our heads together to see how we could make this, simple for everybody. You know what I'm saying? We definitely don't want enforcement. We want everybody to enjoy the park, but how do we control and handle this situation is what we need to come up with a solution for. So I think,
Victor, I know the councilwoman's office was also looking to tour the park with the borough commissioner, and there was some discussion that they would do it on a Sunday, which would allow folks to see the market. So maybe we could coordinate with them for a tour on a Sunday.
That will work for me. Just not the 17th to the 24th.
Understood.
That will work for me. All right. Good. Dave?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you, Gabino. I think those are definitely ideas. We are open to working with other agencies, especially when it comes to trash reduction. I think the stuff on Fifth Avenue maybe less in our purview and kind of operates in a different way, but I think it's definitely all connected, as you said. So we're open to trying new things and figuring out what works and what doesn't. Our team here with Hannah and Elizabeth are pretty nimble and can figure stuff out. So thanks.
Yes. All right, we'll leave that point there. Davey, I don't know if you want you can definitely, if you want to talk about the handball court, or we're good.
I think we're good. We'll try to get you, whenever we hear a response, we'll get that out. Chim and I will get that information out to Jeremy. And then Jeremy, I'll also look out for an email to Commissioner Marr about dates for the tour. I know we have been talking with a council member about trying to do a walkthrough. She and her office has requested that.
I'll see if I can coordinate with them.
You see, I mean, yeah, I think it can happen
And if we
together
can,
or
we can.
separate. Yeah. And we'll also let you know what happens with the collaboration on the police as well. And if that comes into anything.
All right, I'm gonna, as I stated, I'm gonna try to. I'm going to talk to the other committees, public safety and sanitation, and see if we can have a joint meeting or some kind of discussion on this issue.
Okay.
Right. I think that might need to be done. All right. So I'll work on that, and we'll definitely get back to you on that to let you know about that situation, that meeting. All right. Davey, as always, I want to thank you and your staff for coming here and giving us information. It's truly great to work with you. So I appreciate it. Definitely, if you could get me those slides, I would appreciate that also, because I want to include that with my report when I give it to the full board. So please, if you could get that to me, that would be great. You could send it to Jeremy and I'll get it from Jeremy.
Okay.
So that would be great.
Victor, do you want me to clean them up a little bit and just make sure the information's correct before sending it over?
Yes, that's fine. Just if you could get that to me, I appreciate it.
Yep.
All right. Again, everyone, I want to thank you all for attending the meeting. Thank you for your questions. I appreciate your input, your ideas, and I just want to say thank you. So at this time, I would like to call the meeting, the end of the meeting. And again, thank you all for participating today. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for taking the time tonight.
Jeremy, thank you. Thank you, Dave, again.